This is going to be a very interesting episode, ladies and gentlemen, because I don't often do this. I don't often praise journalists. And this specific journalist was humiliated for actually exercising their freedom of expression, their freedom of speech, and for searching for the truth. Yes, that's right. There are some good journos who still believe in good journalism. That's exactly what this journo was trying to do before she was completely humiliated. Let's have a look.
Issues of vibrators
to make sure that we leave no stone unturned.
Did I hear that correctly? Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Newsflash. I'm your host, Joe Emilio. Thanks for tuning in. Now, we all know that the left has completely taken over journalism in South Africa, and it's refreshing to see a journalist that actually wants to be a journalist, that wants to search for the truth. That's why we need to talk about free speech, property rights, and what happens when you try and question the government. Recently, a so-called public dialogue took place at the University of Western Cape to discuss the Expropriation Act. You know, the law that allows the government to take land without paying for it. This event, hosted by PLAS, or Institute for Poverty, Land and Agrarian Studies, was meant to be a discussion about land expropriation. The idea was to hear from government officials, activists, and students about what this law will mean for South Africa. But from the moment it started, it was clear that there was only one acceptable opinion in the room, and anyone who dared question the government's narrative was silenced. Okay, let's have a look at what happened to Heleen Boshoff, a Tigerberger journalist, when she tried to ask a simple question about private property and illegal land grabs.
Can everyone hear me? Thank you. Respectfully, Minister, I believe the establishment of the Government of National Unity speaks to SA's decreasing trust in national government's competency in exercising proper authority, control, and upholding the rule of law. And as was alluded in the invitation...
See, I just want to point out, this is why I don't think she's a lefty journalist, is because she actually is calling out the GNU, and she's saying that they're still incompetent, that there's no difference, which is, I mean, we don't see that very often in journalism. And of course, she's right.
Public discussion. There are factions in society that views this expropriation without compensation and as a wolf dressed in sheep's clothing.
I mean, again, you don't hear journalists say this. She's being honest about the Expropriation Act and saying that some people believe it is a wolf dressed in sheep's clothing. Excellent.
This act arguably sets a dangerous precedent whereby this act may inspire SA citizens to take this controversial law in their own hands by occupying land illegally.
And again, she's saying that this act might embolden some citizens to take the law into their own hands and take land. And that's exactly what we've been seeing. And you can see some people in the crowd are already shaking their head.
So my question is, how can national government absolutely guarantee the protection of private property that is vulnerable to potential illegal land grab?
We're in enemy territory.
And you can hear some people in the background saying, which media house is this? I wonder if it's EFFers who want to know which media house it is so they can go and try and burn it down or something. Now, I reached out to Heleen because I wanted to get her comments. I wanted to know how she felt when this all happened, and here's what she had to say.
Luckily, I was the first to receive the mic when the media portion of the Q&A opened, and then it started all going by very fast because I knew that, okay, I won't be able to give the complete preamble as I had planned and typed out. So I tried to really focus on the crux of the matter and preamble my question a bit. And the moment that I was touching on private property and the vulnerability that does exist to illegal land grabs, especially with very emotional rhetoric surrounding this discussion. And knowing how the emotions are swept up in an overwhelming sense. That's just when the energy and the disdain from the crowd really hit me like it like a force. I was unable to really finish my question, and soon the young lad came and he wanted to take the mic, and he asked me, so your question is basically about private property, and I said yes, but I'm like still clinging onto the mic, and I'm like, will I be able to finish my question? Because obviously I had a two-part question in this. He simply just took the mic away from me, and I knew this was not a battle that will be won. And yeah, I relented or relinquished and simply went back to the chair. But I remember people's facial expressions portrayed as if I just like spat on holy ground, as if I had dared to do something that I really didn't have a right to do. So, on campus afterwards, there were like young lads, young students that would like race past me and like, don't come with your agenda here.
So let's get this straight. A journalist was invited to the event, they asked for media questions, and yet the moment she brought up private property and illegal land grabs, she was shut down. Where's the gender-based violence activist now that a woman was bullied out of asking a question? Oh, that's right, freedom of speech only applies if you agree with them.
Seem a bit communist.
Now, of course, the minister did reply to Heleen, and some of the stuff he said was quite alarming. And just in case you guys are wondering, it is the Minister of Land Reform and Rural Development that was present at this event and gave a bit of a speech, which I'll get into a bit later. And don't worry, I'm not going to go through the whole speech, but there were some, again, alarming things that he said. But first, let's have a look at what he said to Heleen.
My sister, the question of private property. You say my problem with some few people.
What do you mean, few people?
I believe that this Expropriation Act is controversial. They are wrong. It can be controversial. This act is going to address the problems of our people, the landlessness. If you want us not to address it, when are we going to do the redress? We must implement this act. That's why I was also mentioning another bill that must come and frustrate the land reform.
By the way, that bill I've covered before on this channel, and it's a bill in development that has yet to be released because they're still ironing out a few things. But basically, it's a bill that wants to redress land according to the demographics. Another race-based act, and one that makes no sense whatsoever.
It can be controversial. What was controversial, not only controversial but dangerous, was when our land was taken from us.
You can see the kind of crowd that is present.
Our land was taken to the barrel of a gun. Our people were killed. Our fathers were made and they were raped. Now, at least this government is returning the land through the act of parliament.
Okay, now I want to break down some of this rhetoric with actual facts. Firstly, the minister and the ANC claim that the land was stolen in the first place and therefore it's not theft now. Wrong. You can't punish people for what happened 100 years ago, especially when these people probably have nothing to do with what happened 100 years ago. There are some legal landowners that have bought this land after 1994 in a new and free South Africa. They had nothing to do with apartheid or colonialism. If the government truly cared about land fairness, the government is actually the ones who own the most land in South Africa, why not give some of that land back to your people? Second, the Expropriation Act will bring justice. Since 1994, 7.2 million hectares of land has been redistributed. But unfortunately, most of it has failed because the government themselves have not provided adequate training or support. And furthermore, some of these black individuals who were given land don't even have title deeds. So if the ANC cannot be trusted with the land that they already took, why should we trust them to take even more? And number 3, the land must go back to the landless people. Most land under government redistribution has actually been kept by the government and not given back to black farmers or people. Again, they don't give the title deeds, which means this isn't about justice, this is about control. Does this sound familiar? It should. This is the same justification that was used to defend expropriation in Zimbabwe, and we all know how that turned out. And as if what he said to the journalist wasn't bad enough, here are some other quick yet alarming things that he said during his speech.
When we say land first, we are not talking about land grabbing, because land grabbing amounts to theft, and theft is the modus operandi of settler colonialists. Settler colonialists can never be our teachers. We do not have to steal what is already ours.
Translation, private property means nothing. If the government believes that your land should belong to someone else, they'll just take it.
The President of the United States, Donald Trump, issued an invitation to South African farmers, to Afrikaners, to come to the United States because South African government is confiscating their land. The Expropriation Act is not a land confiscation, but they can accept the challenge and go to America.
And this clip, what does that mean? Well, if you don't like it, leave. That's right. You have a minister in the ANC threatening a minority in South Africa.
That's not good.
So what's the takeaway from all this, from this event, from everything? The government is not interested in debate. If they were, a journalist wouldn't have been shut down for asking a legitimate question. Number 2, the Expropriation Act is legalized theft. It's not about justice, it's about power. Number 3, if they can take land today, what stops them from taking businesses, homes, or bank accounts next? South Africa, this isn't just about land. This is about your freedom, your future, and your property rights. I'm thinking about asking Heleen to come onto the show to maybe give more detail about her side of the story and have an honest and interesting conversation with her, maybe about South Africa or journalism. I don't know. I'll reach out to her. I'll see if she will. But let me know your thoughts. Are you surprised that this happened? Honestly, I'm disappointed I wasn't there. I could have had my Ian Cameron moment. I wouldn't have backed down from asking the minister a lot of questions. Probably would have gotten in trouble. But I have to give kudos to Heleen. I mean, that was brave to do. Literally in enemy territory, and had the guts to actually search for the truth in basically what was a communist convention. While I have you here, ladies and gentlemen, please consider becoming a member. It goes a long way to supporting the channel, and you get some exclusive perks. If you want to know more details, please check out that join button at the bottom of this video. And if you can't become a member, that's okay. Please consider giving a super thanks, or Sasa thanks as we call them on this channel. And don't forget to leave a comment, ladies and gentlemen. Do you agree with Heleen? Do you not agree with Heleen? Do you agree with the minister? Do you not agree with the minister? Are you appalled by this whole shenanigan that just happened? Let me know in the comments, and while you're there, leave a like on the video, share it far and wide, and subscribe to the channel. I've got more content coming your way. And with all that being said, thanks for watching. Your Newsflash is in.
Come in. Hey, hello, King's Monochrome Maxi. How can I help you? Oh, hey, Cam.
Yes.
Pulling you up.
Oh, boy.